What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Nurse Bass, and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be another story time video. I have not done a story time video in a long time, and this literally just happened.
Are you listening? Nurse Bass. Beast mode. Grinding.
So as of the time of recording this, it's Monday, May 10th. I was working. I'm a weekender now. I was working yesterday, May 9th on Sunday. I go into work, I do my 12-hour shift, get out. Just like any other Sunday, that's the end of my work weekend, and I'm getting in the car and I'm gonna drive home. I'm taking my usual route home, and I literally probably live 15 minutes away from the hospital. I'm taking my usual route home, and it's pretty much one long, straight back country road, if you will. Speed limit's 55, and so I'm driving down this road, and up ahead in the distance, after I turn around this bend of trees, I can see lines of cars being pulled off to the side, and it looks like there's debris in the road, and people are just pulling over to the side. There's no first responders or police or anybody on the scene at this point. And as I'm pulling up, I can kind of see off to the right hand side of the road, which is more or less like a field slash ditch with trees along the side of it, and off to the side there's a vehicle pulled off with clear damage to the vehicle and debris in the road, and I see a bicycle that's curled up and crumpled on the side of the road. And so there were multiple cars already pulled off to the side, but I went ahead and pulled over to the side as well. I still had my N95 mask, and I grabbed that and I headed out of the car, across the street, and that's when I saw basically where there were a bunch of people at. There was an individual who had been hit by this vehicle who was riding their bike. And so as I approach, this is the first time that I've ever been encountered with this kind of situation outside of a hospital. That's something else to keep in the back of your mind. This has never been anything that I've been presented with before. And as I come up on this individual, they're kind of surrounded by these civilians who have pulled off to the side, and nobody's really doing anything. And as I get a glimpse of this individual, they are worse for wear. They are not doing good at all. They've been hit by this car on a 55-mile-per-hour road while they were riding a bike. They had a helmet on, but it didn't matter much. All of their, I'm not gonna get too graphic, but a lot of broken bones. Not a very pretty sight. It appeared as if this individual's neck had been broken. And so I come upon this, and folk are just standing around, and the individual's belly down and bleeding from the mouth, and just a not kind sight to lay eyes upon. And as I approach, I've got my mask on, and I'm just prepared to kind of get to work, if you will. And I see him, and again, this is just like not in a hospital environment. So although I don't really deal in trauma, I work in a CVICU, so things are like more or less relatively structured with protocols and dealing with the surgical post-op population. You know, you kind of go into work, every day's a little bit different, but more or less you know what you're gonna get. I've never really dealt with trauma, so, but as soon as I get up on him, I get folk out of the way, and he's not breathing, no respirations. I feel for a pulse, a carotid pulse. There's nothing there, and he's laying on his belly, but his neck is obviously contorted in a very bad manner. And I wasn't really sure how to approach it, but there was no pulse, there were no respirations. If I didn't try to do something, I had to try and do something, right? Everything within me was saying, you have to do something, because if I do zero, I know what the outcome's going to be. So nonetheless, I take it upon myself. I turn the individual over on their back. Still no respiration. There's nothing. So I immediately begin CPR. The individual who was driving the vehicle is just hysterical, and there's folk just around me. And like I said, when I approached, these folk were surrounding this individual who had been the victim, and they were doing nothing. And so this woman is over there by herself, hysterical, near a 55-mile-per-hour road. So I start doing CPR. I tell them to go get her and comfort her, making sure that somebody's calling 911 after after, you know, approximately, it was very, very fast response. After approximately like 2 minutes, 3 minutes of CPR, EMS and first responders were there on scene and they relieved me. And the individual didn't make it. They honestly, in hindsight, like didn't really have a shot. But the entire experience was very surreal. As I said, I've never been presented with anything like that before. And it really, you know, two things, right? The first thing is it really gives me an incredible appreciation. Like I previously had a good respect for our first responders, but until you kind of witness what they witness on a day-to-day, you know, it's that level of appreciation isn't really there. So it just really cultivated a much higher level of appreciation for our first responders, all of our EMS, you know, all of our first responders that go out there in the field and do it day in and day out. Like, you guys are true grinders and lifesavers, man. And the kind of stuff that you guys endure and see and witness is just beyond me to be able to do it on a day-to-day. That's why I left that little prompt at the beginning of this video. I think it's very important after witnessing things like that and just having some sort of outlet to decompress. You have to let it out. We're not necessarily wired innately to be able to digest those kinds of sights and sounds and smells and things of that nature. So hats off to all of you first responders out there who do this day in and day out. So much respect for you guys. And the other thing that the experience kind of left me with was just an incredible sense of thankfulness, you know, because we hear it all the time. And, you know, if you work in healthcare and, you know, you may be subjected to being surrounded by death in one way or another, but you never really have that. I just feel like, at least for me personally, I never really truly have that appreciation for how fickle and fleeting life is, and to be presented with a situation like that in the field outside of my work environment just really re-solidified that thought. Like, man, I just have such an overwhelming sense of thankfulness for my life, for the blessings that I have. You know, sometimes it's very easy to look at things going on in your life and how they may not be going the way that you want them to, and, you know, just be sad and upset and maybe frustrated about the way that your life is going. But I'm telling you, that was just it's moments like that where true thankfulness sets in, and it's like, I may not have everything I want, but I've got my heart still beating, man. I still got my loved ones around me, and it's just it was a very, very surreal experience. But I wanted to get on here, and I wanted to, because it just happened, and again, the whole idea of decompressing, of ventilating and getting it out a little bit, it's not something that I wanted to keep bottled up. So I just wanted to chat about it, and very unique experience to see firsthand out in the field, and to try and do CPR and resuscitate someone, despite the futility you're faced with. I would never ask anybody, any first responders, to divulge stories or things like that, right? But if anybody out there who's, you know, not a first responder, who maybe works in a hospital like I do, or long-term care facility or anything like that, who has ever had an experience out in public of trying to perform CPR, I would like to hear down below, hopefully how things went, and hopefully that there was a better outcome than mine. Nonetheless, guys, please seek help if you need it. So much love for our first responders. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hug your family tight tonight, guys. Hug your family tight tonight. I'll see you guys in the next video. It's your boy Nurse Best. I'll see you then. Peace.